Holy.
A bright start to the day. The 5AA Breakfast Show. Weekday mornings from 6 on 1395. Adelaide's 5AA. Interactive radio. Email on air at 5AA.com.au. Peter Godfrey.
Let's head across the ditch to New Zealand. Selwyn Manning joins us now. livenews.co.nz. Head there for some news from New Zealand. Selwyn's got some for us. G'day, Selwyn. How are you?
Yeah, g'day, Peter. How are you?
Good. You've had a bit of rain, have you?
Yeah.
You've got our rain, I think.
I think we stole it, Peter.
You're going to start those rivalries across the ditch again, aren't you?
Yes. Yeah, no, this rain pattern, this rain system, it seems to have been coming from all of that ocean south of South Australia and coming across there. It touches Victoria and certainly over Tasmania, and we've got it up here in the north of the North Island, and it's certainly well needed. You know, like your listeners would know that are up at this time in the morning, that New Zealand, like you guys, has been suffering from a lack of rain. We've had a few showers in the last week, which has obviously made a big difference here in the Auckland and Northland region of New Zealand. The grass is green again in the parks. We started to get used to seeing this brown, chafed kind of looking grass around the place.
Yeah.
Certainly didn't look like New Zealand. But now it's all back to green, and today and overnight we've got proper rain. It's and it's one of the first times in my life that I've seen Aucklanders look to the sky and smile at the rain coming down. You know, you are so over it most of the time. But
Yeah.
this is a very welcome reprieve.
Yeah. Is it long-lasting? Are forecasters suggesting it's there for a while? Or
It's going to ease up a little bit this late afternoon, and this is in the north of the North Island I'm talking about. And but it looks like we're going to have more rain or showers tomorrow, which is Friday, of course, and through the weekend. So it looks like the reservoirs will be getting topped up again. The South Island, it's had quite a lot of rain over the last. When I say quite a lot, more than the North Island over the last few weeks. But it's back into sunny skies and dry, so it looks like it might be the North Island's time. Over on the Hawke's Bay area and Martinborough, now those two areas of the North Island are really rich wine growing regions. We mentioned them a couple of times. They're kind of like New Zealand's small version of the Barossa Valley. Fantastic Barossa Valley. But they've been having a fantastic year for grapes. It's dry, hot, etc., and the harvest is, pretty much done. They're very happy, apparently, in those areas, and the rain is coming down there right now. And I guess from the point of view of the farmers and things, it's obviously well welcomed. But the terrain, the geography around that area, when it dries, and there's big rain, quite often it starts to crumble, and there's been huge landfalls in past years. So I guess a lot of people will be watching the land and hoping it holds together.
Yeah, actually, I talked to a chap in London each week as well, and he was talking about their weather over there, and particularly sort of further north, particularly up into Northern Ireland, and the snow that they've been having, and that's kind of their next fears is, once the snow starts to melt because they're, of course, moving into summer or spring into summer. Where does all that water go? And, they've got, falls of snow measured in metres in some areas. It's just so similar kind of thing, it just,
at the extreme, the change. I was reading a little bit about that too, and someone was saying that the weather was where it would normally come from the south, and that coming through onto the UK at this time. It's not. It's been coming across from Siberia, which
from
has
the
been
east,
cold. So huge changes, isn't it?
With the rain that you're finally getting over there in New Zealand, temperatures changed much, or are you still sort of much on average?
Yeah, I've noticed it feels colder, but the humidity is back. The mozzies are loving it in Auckland. I noticed that we've had a mozzie-free summer pretty much, but I was out in the garden on the weekend, and absolutely these hungry blighters started going around. I don't usually get bitten by these guys, but they were thinking, here's a human, might as well get stuck in.
They're
around. The temperatures around Auckland looks like it's heading for a high today of 21 degrees, so they are notching down. And they're ranging down the South Island where it's open blue skies at the moment, really getting cold. Dunedin, a high of 12. So, it's starting to really, really cool down there.
Okay. Well, when you finish with the rain, can you just send it back to us? Because we desperately need it too. We've got nothing forecast. The next week we've got Yeah, nothing sunny conditions right through.
Oh, well, yeah.
Yes. All right. On to another story. Now, one of your long-serving police officers coming up for retirement, but in his parting, he's calling for a lowering of your blood alcohol limits for drivers.
Yeah. This officer's name's Tooman. Now, he's an institution in New Zealand road traffic policing, and he's specialised in that area for most of his professional policing life, and certainly around the Waikato region. He's a great guy. I remember having a little bit to do with him in the early 2000s when the Helen Clark-led Labour government instituted highway patrols in New Zealand, rolled those out. He was really into that and said it was great that police officers could specialise in a particular area like road policing. Now, he's been saying that we can still save some lives on the roads. He reckoned if we drop the alcohol limit from 80 to 80 milligrams per 100 litres of blood to 50. So that's for fully licensed adult drivers. That further reductions would make a difference. And he's saying, of course, more money in policing and also better equipment, etc., will certainly make a difference too. And it's a bit of a reminder that we always got ways of bettering this. And he reflected back a comparison to when it was in Christmas Eve 1972, he says, or 73, he's trying to remember, and he says that there was a fatal motor vehicle crash just south of Putaruru, that's in Waikato. It's about an hour and a half, 2 hours south of Auckland. And he said an elderly couple were travelling to Hamilton, I'm reading from the New Zealand Herald website here, and he says, we're travelling to Hamilton to see their kids and grandkids for Christmas. And he said that the couple died instantly when their car collided with a truck. And then there's this wonderful quote, not wonderful, but it gives a good idea of how things have got better in this country in this way. And he says, of course, in those days we didn't have cutting equipment or the paramedics like we have today. And we finished up carting the elderly couple with all their Christmas presents back through the main street of Putaruru on the back of a tow truck to get their bodies extracted at the panel beater's yard. And I thought, while it's macabre and grim, Peter, it's a real good reminder. Remember the big cars that we had back then? The safety features were not that great, obviously. In New Zealand, I don't know about in Australia, but wearing a seatbelt was not compulsory.
Yes, it was the same here,
You'd have the kids bouncing around in the back seats and mum and dad in the front, very, very casual. So things have certainly changed. And Tooman has been one of those guys that has made a career out of trying to keep people alive. You got to admire people like that. That must be one of the hardest jobs in the world, surely. The things they would have to see on a daily basis, just about. Daily basis. And I remember when the highway patrol was rolled out in New Zealand, there was a lot of criticism from within police ranks. The police association was saying this is trivialising police work. It's going to take police officers off the front line. They should be stopping crime. And I remember people like Tooman coming out and saying within their own ranks and saying, well, come on, actually, this saves lives here. He talked about the halo effect, and that was what he was referring to there, is if you have a traffic cop in a particular place, it adjusts the behaviour of the cars on a highway for about 20 kilometres. And if you have another traffic cop around that point, you have a halo effect where the behaviour of the drivers improves for about another 20 kilometres. And he says, if we were able to achieve that, he says, we'll save lives. And you saw moves toward that, resourcing and funding, and then you did see in New Zealand the road toll drop dramatically. And a lot of it, people were saying, was down to that type of thing.
Yeah, interesting. Actually, interesting you bring that up. We're sort of this week, there's been a lot of discussions here on our road issues. Our road toll over the Easter weekend was the worst for South Australia since 2005, I think. So, and a lot of that, police sort of saying they're just frustrated by, the irresponsibility still of some motorists. Unfortunately, there's, a lot of these the fatalities were due to just bad behaviour, or in fact, in one case, not wearing a seatbelt. It was a young lad in the back of a car without a seatbelt, died in a crash.
That's tragic, isn't it?
Yeah, it is indeed. All right, well, he'll be sadly missed, no doubt, from the traffic force in New Zealand, but obviously he's, got a great legacy left behind, though, with what he's done.
He certainly has. A lot of people obviously got a lot to say and think and for. Yes.
And on one final thing, John Key, his brain fade. His brain fade has come up again with the all this the spy force saga.
Yes. Yes, it's a saga, Peter. The spy stories. I mean, your listeners that have tuned into this particular time on Thursday mornings were thinking that Kiwi guy's a bit obsessed with these spy things. He should start writing novels like John le Carre or something. But it's just not the case. The whole country is watching this type of thing. The brain fade that Peter has mentioned here, listeners, is very much what is in the minds of many here that are following such things. The Prime Minister's he's had a legacy of this type of thing where he conveniently forgets things, and supposedly conveniently forgets things, and then suddenly recalls them later on. What we're talking about here with this spy agency is this apparent cronyism that's been going on. The top spy boss, Peter, of the GCSB, I think we said on your program last week, was an old school friend of John Key's. And now the Prime Minister admitted yesterday that he actually phoned the guy up when he was working up in Brisbane in the economics finance area of the state government in a senior position, and said, look, there's a great job coming up. If you want to put your name in, I reckon you'd do pretty well. And that was after a shortlist was presented to John Key, and he and the civil servants decided that the shortlist wasn't strong enough. John Key phones his friend. His friend comes over, has an interview. No other people were interviewed, and he's slotted into the job. And John Key's trying to convince the country, Peter, that that's okay. It's not cronyism, and proper process was followed. And of course, what that's led to is the opposition parties going nuts over this, and also the former Defence and Intelligence boss of the GCSB, Sir Bruce Ferguson, former head of the Air Force here in New Zealand, and he's criticising John Key, the Prime Minister, and say that selection process is flawed. And he said he was aware, anecdotally but also directly, that one of the candidates on the shortlist, who apparently had fantastic credentials, was told right at the 11th hour, don't come to an interview, they've already selected the candidate.
Interesting, isn't it? So, goodness me, yes. All right.
When politicians start dabbling and forgetting things, it always comes back to bite.
Indeed.
Yes.
And I'm sure that this is a story we could end with to be continued.
Well, I'll try and not keep bringing it up, but sometimes when the newspapers are just full of it, you just have to say what's going on.
Yeah, indeed. It's like a train wreck. You just can't turn your eyes away, can you?
No.
All right, so I want to have a great week. Enjoy the rain. Hope you get some more, and hope you can send some back to us.
Okay, mate.
All the best. Bye-bye. Selwyn Manning in New Zealand, livenews.co.nz for more, and Stone now with ours.
Top deals and top service on your new Honda. Top of Glen Osmond Road, Nordic Honda.